Central coming back at you another YouTube video, and I have about 1,650 subscribers so far. I saw in my recent demographics on YouTube that 88% of you are unsubscribed watching this video, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is completely free. All it takes is just one click of a button, and you are ready to go, notified. Everything is good to go on videos, so be sure to look out for that in the future. But I have a lot of people that are questioning some things about recruiting. We had a big official visitor weekend. We had 9 prospects on campus, and we're bringing this out to you on Monday morning. And why in the world is nobody committed yet? That is one thing that a lot of people are questioning about and questioning the staff's ability. I don't see why you would with a 9-3 finish so far for the season. But Chris, are you worried about so far about no commitments being so far and just kind of seeing that process go through with all the excitement that was supposed to be for this weekend?
No, and the reason that I'm not worried about it at all, because I respect each and every one of these young men what they're doing. I think Edwin Joseph said it the best. Said that he wanted to go back, talk to his parents, you know, speak with his coaches a little bit about it, and then before he makes the decision, just get a good feel for everything. And those conversations with his family members mean a lot to him. You don't want to just jump and make a commitment. So I think that's what a lot of them are doing. Take a step back, take it all in, and then decide exactly how you want to do this and plan out a little bit. It's not just guys we commit. So I think it's very important for them all to take a step back, and I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, and he talked about it before, and that was kind of a nice segue. Edwin Joseph is one of those guys where he didn't want to be a flashy ceremony kind of guy. He may sign it as high school. He was going to put out a little bit of an edit, nothing special. He's one of those guys that wants to be kind of private, wants to speak to his parents. He's really, really close friends with Hakeem Williams. That's one guy that's already committed to Florida State. If you haven't checked out our recent video about Hakeem Williams going to LA on Chris's channel, that is very good video to watch. And I think we did a really good job of highlighting that. But I think, the Joseph situation, I think is just something you really have to pay attention to. I think this is a guy that Florida State really took liking of. He is going to possibly be a defensive back at Florida State. He's a two-sport athlete at that point, and he also plays wide receiver and safety also. So I think that's one thing that Florida State really likes. Coach Woodson is a big fan of him as well. But then you got other guys who I think is on the recruiting board that is kind of like a guy with Cameron Robinson, a 4-star linebacker. He's a Virginia commit. He's been a guy that Florida State's been on more recently. They took an in-home visit with him last week. They scheduled that visit coming up, and he actually posted something really interesting on his Instagram story. He put on there as he was departing from Tallahassee, "Goodbye, Tallahassee. See you soon," with the eyeball emojis. That is something. Why would you say that as a Virginia commit if you're still committed to that program? So I don't necessarily think everybody talks about why does Florida State need 3 linebackers? Well, we've been talking about it all season. The depth at that position is not the greatest in the world, especially with an Amari Gaynor being transferring out of the program. Chris, what are your thoughts on possibly adding a guy like Cameron Robinson to the class?
Well, I'm going to be honest. When you had brought him up to me on one of our previous shows on Sporadics, I didn't know much about the young man, and then because you brought him up and said that we were, like you said, we're kind of late coming to the party to try to go get him. But after I started watching the film on him and then really understanding why everybody was high on him, I think adding him to what we've got already with, I want to say that he's in between a Tatum, Bethune, and really he's kind of like Amari Gaynor to me, but he seems to be a little bit quicker, better in coverage, way better in coverage. And he already runs a similar system in high school from what film I saw. It's very similar to what Fuller's doing here at Florida State. Really, I think it's a win-win for both sides. I think he fits the system really well. And I think Florida State definitely needs to add depth. And I don't really think with as shy as linebackers are in these classes, I think you got to go get him because he could be a very key point to what success is Florida State's defense in the future.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I know a lot of people are questioning on why we're getting 3 linebackers. If we go after him, that's a guy that they've really circled. This does not mean that Marco Ward is being taken off the class. Marco Ward is a very, very talented linebacker from Duluth, Georgia. He is one of those guys that Florida State really likes in terms of just his skill set. And you know about Blake Nicholson, 2,000-yard rusher, a very talented 85 tackle linebacker that is going to be something. He's just like Omar Graham Jr., where he is a physical linebacker, can eat up in space in the run. And I think it's going to be a guy that Florida State really likes. But talking about a guy that Florida State really likes that not a lot of people are confident on in kind of landing, and that's four-star defensive end Reuben Bain. Now, there was an Instagram story going around of him actually getting a birthday celebration for his mom. Florida State was singing happy birthday to his mom, and everybody on Twitter and social media was talking about the Kamani McLean situation where they sang happy birthday to him, and all of social media kind of made jokes about it, and eventually ended up at Miami. They are kind of like a family-like environment. He wanted to show him that is like, what it is. Norvell knows a lot about his mom. His mom is very important to him, as like most of these high school recruits that they have. I think it's just very important to understand that even though Reuben Bain is from the Miami area, I'm not saying that Miami is a lock in this situation. I'm not even saying that Florida State has a better than 90% chance, but I am saying that Florida State made a really, really good impression on him. I think you have to go out and get those guys. And I even was approached by this comment that was earlier in one of my Instagram posts that, why are we even trying to go land Reuben Bain if he's just going to end up at Miami? Well, when Florida State spent this much time and dedication into a recruitment at this point, and you got a recruit that has 29 sacks this past season, had 29 sacks the previous season, and had 14 the previous season before that, that is a lot of sacks. And coming from a Miami Central high school program that is proud in what they do, you're seeing this defensive end that is very, very talented. And I think Odell really likes him too if he's able to kind of bulk up at the defensive tackle position. But just overall, I think this is a guy that you cannot miss from the Miami area. But as you talked about with all these other recruits, if you keep a good relationship with him, and let's just say he gets tired and chooses Miami and gets tired of them, look who's in the driver's seat at that point. Chris, what are kind of your thoughts on the Bain situation, and how do you think it'll kind of plan out as we go through? And I think he's deciding on the 16th, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Well, to be completely honest with you, I didn't know if Florida State needed to go after another DE. And then I found, that there's some situations with one recruit like Gaddis, and we don't know exactly where that's going. He's starting to talk to Tennessee and some others. So, and then look, I don't care who you're playing. If you get 29 sacks 2 consecutive years in a row,
yeah.
And then the year before that, you have 14, like you had just stated. He's not play. Here's the thing, but I don't care who you play. That's impressive. But to be at Miami Central, and you're getting 29 sacks a season, 2 seasons in a row, 14 in your your sophomore year?
Yeah.
14, 29, 29. And I think what he could do at Florida State, and he fits the system extremely well. I think that if he gets with Storms, that he kind of loses a little bit of weight, bulks up, leans out a little bit, that he could be a great fit at defensive end. And we need that so badly at Florida State. We always want defensive ends, DBs, defensive tackles. I don't think he's quite big enough to be a defensive tackle. I think he could lose a little bit of weight and be a more effective defensive end. I think he'd be a great get, and I don't agree with anybody that says, why are we going after him? I think you have to go after him.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. His nickname is Hurricane. His brother's a graduate assistant over there. He's going to be officially visiting Miami. We'll see if he actually visits. But they're saying that he's going to be officially visiting this upcoming weekend before he decides. That's always kind of a bad thing. But you really look at it. I mean, I even talked about Chris in the pre-show that we talked about, and a Wesley Basaint, for example. There was a situation where Florida State was thinking, okay, this is going to be a Miami lock. Florida State comes and does a couple of visits. They get a really good impression. Miami struggles on the field. They beat them on the field. And then next thing you know, they're getting a couple of crystal balls. Well, a couple of things didn't go Florida State's way, and you saw him pick Miami at the very end. Can this time change? Florida State's 9-3 on the field. Miami didn't make a bowl game and are at 5-7. They didn't have the season they wanted to have. You have a consistent coaching staff at Florida State. You don't have a consistent coaching staff at Miami. who knows, man? I mean, recruiting is crazy, like we talked about in the Hakeem Williams situation. You never can call anybody a lock. And I think that's really important to understand. But I just think everybody has to understand that this is the time for recruiting. It's only a week and a half away at this point, and I think we're really going to be seeing what Florida State can do for the rest of this recruiting cycle. But I really appreciate Chris for coming on to the video today. I really appreciate all the love and the support that he gives me through my channel and through my platforms that I have. Please be sure to like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, it's completely free. And I hope you all have a great rest of the day. And as always, go Noles.
Go Noles.